$150 an hour. That is the current market rate for betrayal. Right now, in a quiet initiative known internally as Project Mercury, OpenAI is paying former investment bankers from firms like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs to sit at a computer terminal and teach an algorithm how to destroy their own industry. They aren't coding. They aren't engineering. They are submitting redacted dealbooks, teaching the machine the nuance of a leveraged buyout and grading its ability to replicate the cognitive work of a junior analyst. They are selling the apprenticeship model that built Wall Street for $150 an hour. Most people think artificial intelligence is a tool. They think it's like Excel or the internet, a piece of leverage that will make you faster, smarter, and more valuable. You've been told that this is the era of augmentation, where the human remains in the loop. That is a lie. The financial data, the hiring freezes, and the executive compensation packages tell a very different story. We are not witnessing an era of augmentation. We are witnessing the great decoupling. For the first time in history, corporate revenue is separating entirely from human labor costs. The mechanism that allowed the middle class to exist, the idea that as a company grows it must hire more people, is being dismantled. We are seeing record corporate profits coinciding with the lowest rate of professional job openings since 2013. The salaryman, the bedrock of the modern economy, is being quietly erased from the balance sheet. By the end of this briefing, you will understand exactly how the architects of this transition are executing this plan. Why the job market feels like a ghost town despite a booming stock market, and why the career ladder you were promised no longer exists. To understand the violence of what is happening right now, you have to understand the contract that is being broken. For the last century, the salaryman deal was simple. You gave a corporation your loyalty, your time, and your routine cognitive labor. In exchange, you received stability, a middle-class wage, and a clear path of progression. You started as a junior, you did the grunt work, you learned the trade, and you moved up. That was the social contract. That contract expired in 2023. While the media was distracted by chatbots writing bad poetry, the financial elite began executing a structural pivot. They realized that the grunt work, the very mechanism used to train the next generation of leaders, could be done by a depreciating software asset rather than a salaried human. This created what we call the white-collar recession. If you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics data from January 2025, you see a statistical anomaly that shouldn't exist. The US GDP is growing. Tech stocks are at all-time highs. Capital is exploding. Yet, job openings in professional services have dropped 20% year over year. Historically, when the economy grows, hiring grows. That correlation is dead. We are now in an era of jobless growth. The reason you don't see panic in the streets is because this isn't a loud crisis. It's a silent one. It's what IBM CEO Arvind Krishna called quiet cutting. You don't fire 10,000 people on live television. You simply stop hiring. You let attrition take its course. You replace the open role with an API. The job doesn't get filled. It gets deleted. The seat doesn't go empty. The seat disappears. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a stated objective. When Goldman Sachs released their report estimating that 300 million jobs were exposed to automation, they weren't issuing a warning. They were issuing a prospectus. They were telling investors that the efficiency premium was here. And the market listened. Companies that are aggressively reducing headcount while maintaining revenue are being rewarded with massive valuation premiums. The narrative that AI will create new jobs to replace the old ones is a mathematical impossibility in the short term. Klarna, the fintech giant, didn't replace 700 customer service agents with 700 prompt engineers. They replaced them with a piece of software that costs a fraction of a cent to run. The net result was a $40 million profit improvement. That money didn't go to new employees. It went to the bottom line. It went to capital. This is the reality of the great decoupling. The bridge between corporate success and your personal prosperity has been burned. But to understand how we got here so quickly, we have to look at the smoking gun. We have to look at the specific project that proved to the world's elite that the human apprentice was no longer necessary. We have to look at Project Mercury. Project Mercury is not a singular event. It is a template. It is the standardized operating procedure for the digitization of human judgment. When those investment bankers sit down at their terminals, they are not just correcting grammar. They are performing reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF. In plain English, they are taking the intangible intuition that takes 10 years to learn: how to spot a toxic asset, how to structure a debt covenant, how to read the silence in a negotiation, and they are converting it into a dataset. They are digitizing their own gut instincts. And once that instinct is digitized, it can be replicated infinitely at zero marginal cost. This is the mechanism that breaks the apprenticeship model. For 500 years, the only way to create a master was to train an apprentice. A senior partner needed a junior analyst to crunch the numbers, build the slide decks, and fetch the coffee. In exchange for the grunt work, the junior learned the trade. They absorbed the tacit knowledge that can't be written down in a manual. Eventually, the junior became the master, and the cycle continued. Project Mercury destroys that cycle. When you build an AI that can analyze a merger agreement in 3 seconds, work that used to take a team of juniors 3 days, you don't just save time. You remove the bottom rungs of the ladder. You remove the training ground. The senior partner no longer needs the junior. They just need the software. This creates a top-heavy industry. You have a few highly paid decision-makers at the top, an army of servers at the bottom, and a massive void in the middle where the career path used to be. This is the hollow firm, and it is the new architectural standard for the Fortune 500. You need to understand the unit economics here. A human employee is a liability. You require health insurance, office space, 401k matching, and HR oversight. You get sick. You get tired. You have good days and bad days. An algorithm has none of these defects. It is pure electricity. It is an operating expense that can be scaled up or down instantly. This is why Wall Street loves the efficiency premium. In the old economy, if a company fired 20% of its workforce, its stock would tank because investors assumed the company was in trouble. Today, it is the opposite. When a tech giant announces a layoff, their stock price jumps. The market interprets the firing of human beings not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of optimization. They are shedding the biological friction of human labor. Look at the numbers from the tech sector in late 2024 and 2025. We saw record profits and record layoffs simultaneously. This was not a recession. This was a refactoring of the code base of corporate America. Companies like Meta and Google realized they could generate more revenue with fewer people by leveraging compute. They shifted their spending from salaries to GPUs. They traded people for chips. But the mechanism goes deeper than just firing people. That's too messy. That gets you bad press. The smarter mechanism is the ghost job. If you've tried to apply for a corporate job in the last 6 months, you know exactly what I am talking about. You see the listing on LinkedIn. You see entry-level analyst. You apply. You hear nothing. The job reposts 2 weeks later. You apply again. Silence. This is not incompetence. This is strategy. A report by Clarify Capital revealed that nearly 50% of hiring managers keep job postings open with no intention of hiring. Why? 2 reasons. First, to give the illusion of growth to investors. Look, we are hiring. We are expanding. Second, to placate their overworked current employees. Hang in there. Help is coming. We have the job posted. But help is not coming. The empty seat is the point. The company is testing the elasticity of the remaining workforce. If the team of 4 can do the work of the team of 5 without collapsing, the 5th role is permanently deleted. If they break, the company subscribes to an enterprise AI agent to patch the hole. The human is never replaced by another human. This is the attrition trap. You don't get fired. You just don't get hired. The door to the middle class is quietly locked from the inside. And who is locking it? This is the most cynical part of the mechanism. The people training these systems, the middle managers implementing these efficiency tools, are digging their own graves. They are under immense pressure to show AI adoption to their superiors to secure their bonuses. So, they integrate the tools that automate their direct reports. They streamline their departments. They look like heroes for 2 quarters, but once the department is automated, once the juniors are gone and the workflow is purely digital, the question inevitably moves up the chain. If the software is doing the work and the juniors are gone, what exactly do you do? The mechanism eats the ladder from the bottom up. It starts with the copywriters and the customer service agents. We saw this with Klarna. They explicitly stated that their AI assistant does the work of 700 full-time agents. It handles 2/3 of all customer service chats. It speaks 35 languages. It works 24/7. And it led to a 25% drop in repeat inquiries because it is more accurate than the humans it replaced. That is 700 salaries that have been converted into pure profit. That is 700 families who have been decoupled from the revenue stream of a successful company. And that is just one company, in one vertical, in the early days of the technology. Now apply that logic to accounting, to legal discovery, to radiology, to software engineering. The Klarna event is coming for every industry where the primary output is a digital file. If your job involves sitting at a computer and manipulating symbols, whether those symbols are words, numbers, or code, you are in the blast radius. The Salaryman was an invention of the industrial age. It was a necessity because capital needed labor to multiply itself. That necessity is fading. We are moving toward a post-labor capital structure. The mechanism is designed to extract maximum value from the market while minimizing the distribution of that value to workers. It is a wealth concentration machine. It sucks liquidity out of the payroll department and pumps it directly into the dividend pool and the stock buyback program. This leads us to the most dangerous question of all. If the companies are making record profits and they aren't paying it out in wages, where is the money going? Who is actually getting rich from the great decoupling? Because the money doesn't vanish, it just flows to a different reservoir. And when you see where that reservoir is, you will understand why they are never going to turn the machines off. The money is flowing into the buyback loop. In 2024 and 2025, S&P 500 companies spent nearly $1 trillion buying back their own stock. This is the endgame of the decoupling. When a corporation fires 10,000 people and replaces them with an API, they generate a massive surplus of cash. They don't reinvest that cash in new factories or new jobs because they don't need more labor to grow. Instead, they use that cash to buy their own shares, artificially inflating the stock price, triggering executive bonuses, and enriching the passive asset holders. You are witnessing the transfer of wealth from the payroll account to the capital gains account. It is a siphon. It sucks the lifeblood out of the real economy, where people buy groceries and pay rent, and injects it into the financial economy, where the numbers simply go up forever. This is why the stock market can hit all-time highs, while your rent doubles and your wages stagnate. The market is no longer a reflection of the economy. It is a reflection of how efficiently capital can eliminate labor. This creates a new caste system. We are not moving towards a recession. We are moving towards techno-feudalism. In this new structure, there are only 2 classes. There is the owner class, the people who own the equity, the algorithms, and the servers. And there is the labor class, the people who sell their time for money. The problem for the labor class is that the value of their product, human time, is crashing to zero. If you are a lawyer, a coder, an accountant, or a copywriter, you are selling a commodity that is currently experiencing hyperinflation of supply. An AI model can generate 1,000,000 lines of code or 1,000 legal briefs in the time it takes you to pour your morning coffee. When supply goes to infinity, price goes to zero. Your labor, which you spent 20 years refining through education and experience, is becoming worthless. This brings us to the most dangerous lie being sold to you right now, the lie of reskilling. LinkedIn is full of influencers telling you to pivot. They tell you to learn to code or become a prompt engineer. This is the gaslight of the decade. Telling a white-collar worker to learn Python in 2026 is like telling a horse to learn how to be a combustion engine in 1910. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of the shift. The AI is not just doing the work. The AI is learning the work faster than you ever could. Prompt engineering is not a career. It is a bug patch. It is a temporary interface problem that will be solved by the next version of the model. By the time you master the syntax of GPT-6, GPT-7 will be able to intuit your intent without a prompt. You are running a race against a competitor that doubles its speed every 6 months, while you are biologically capped at the speed of a human neuron. You cannot outlearn the machine. So if labor is obsolete and reskilling is a trap, what happens to the millions of people who fall out of the middle class? The architects have a plan for that too. It's called Universal Basic Income. You have heard the tech billionaires talking about UBI, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. They all support it. You might think this is out of the goodness of their hearts. You might think they want to save humanity from poverty. Do not be naive. They support UBI because they know the mathematics of their own invention. They know that if they automate 50% of the workforce, nobody will have any money to buy their products. And if nobody buys the products, the system collapses. UBI is not charity. It is a user acquisition cost. It is a stipend paid to the population to keep the consumption cycle running and to prevent the pitchforks from coming out. They are proposing a world where you are paid just enough to exist, just enough to subscribe to Netflix and order Uber Eats, but never enough to accumulate capital, never enough to buy the assets that actually generate wealth. It is a subscription serfdom. You will own nothing. You will be paid a digital allowance, and you will be happy in the metaverse while the real assets, land, energy, compute, are owned by the cartel. This is the psychological violence of the great decoupling. It strips you of your utility. For generations, men and women found dignity in being useful, in being needed. The new economy says, we don't need you. We just need you to consume. It creates a crisis of meaning that is far more devastating than the crisis of money. We are already seeing it. The checking out of the workforce, the quiet quitting, the rise in escapism. It is the subconscious realization that the game is rigged and the ladder is gone. But here is the twist. The system is not perfect. In their rush to automate everything, in their arrogance to decouple from human labor, the architects have left a back door open. They have created a blind spot. While they are focused on efficiency, they have forgotten about agency. They have built a world where it is easier than ever to be a consumer, but harder than ever to be a producer. But for the few who understand how to flip the mechanism, for the few who refuse to be the labor class and refuse to accept the allowance, this moment of chaos is not a tragedy. It is the greatest opportunity for asymmetric leverage in human history. You can survive the great decoupling. You can even thrive in it. But you have to stop playing by the rules of 2019. You have to stop trying to be a better employee. You have to stop looking for a safe job. You have to become something else entirely. You have to become the thing the algorithm cannot replace. The weakness of the machine is that it has no intent. It has no desire. It can answer any question you ask it, but it cannot ask a question that matters. It can execute a task with perfect efficiency, but it cannot decide why that task should be done in the first place. This is your leverage. This is the narrow path through the fire. To survive the great decoupling, You must stop identifying as a worker who sells skills and start identifying as an operator who sells outcomes. The salaryman is paid for doing. The operator is paid for deciding. In the old economy, you were paid to write the code, or write the copy, or organize the spreadsheet. That value is gone. In the new economy, you are paid to direct the fleet of AI agents that do those things for you. You are not the painter anymore. You are the gallery owner. You are not the construction worker. You are the architect. This requires a fundamental shift in how you view your career. You need to stop climbing the corporate ladder, because that ladder is burning. Instead, you need to build your own equity. The cost of creation has collapsed to zero. This is the paradox that the doommongers miss. Yes, AI destroys jobs, but it also democratizes the power of a Fortune 500 company and puts it in your pocket. 10 years ago, if you wanted to build a software company, a media brand, or a consulting firm, you needed $1 million in capital and a staff of 20. Today, you need a laptop, a Wi-Fi connection, and a $20 subscription to an LLM. The tools that corporations are using to replace you are the exact same tools you can use to replace them. This is the asymmetric opportunity. The barriers to entry have never been lower, but the barrier to success has never been higher, because the noise is deafening. Everyone can create, which means the market is flooded with mediocrity. The value now shifts entirely to taste, judgment, and distribution. If you can use these tools to build something unique, a product, a service, a personal brand, you can operate with the margins of a software company and the agility of a startup. You can build a one-person unicorn. You don't need a boss. You don't need HR. You don't need permission. But you have to move now. We are in a transition window. Right now, the technology is still new enough that there is an arbitrage for those who master it early, but that window will close. Soon, the agentic workflow will just be the standard. The divide will solidify. On one side, you will have the sovereign individuals. These are the people who own the robots. They own the IP, they own the audience. They capture 99% of the value because they have leveraged technology to multiply their output by a factor of 1,000. On the other side, you have the subsistence class, the people who refused to adapt, the people who waited for the government to save them, the people who accepted the universal basic income and retreated into the metaverse to consume content created by the sovereigns. There is no middle ground. The middle class was an artifact of the 20th century. It is gone. The future is K-shaped. You either go up or you go down. The architects of this new world, the ones running Project Mercury, the ones buying back their own stock, the ones designing the post-labor economy, they are betting against you. They are betting that you are too lazy, too distracted, and too comfortable to take control of your own production. They are betting that you will choose the allowance over the arena. They want you to be a user. They want you to be a prompt. They want you to be data. Do not give them the satisfaction. The machine is powerful, but it is a tool. It is a lever, and like any lever, it amplifies force. If you are weak, it will crush you. But if you are strong, if you are decisive, if you are creative, and if you are relentless, it will make you a god. The great decoupling is not the end of the world. It is the end of the world for them. For the bloated corporations that treat people like cattle. For the inefficient bureaucracies. For the gatekeepers. For you, it is the beginning. But only if you wake up. Only if you stop waiting for the paycheck that isn't coming, and start building the asset that will set you free. The signal is clear. The noise is optional. The choice is yours. So, I leave you with this question to debate in the comments below. In a world where labor is worthless and capital is everything, do you believe universal basic income is a safety net designed to save you, or a bribe designed to silence you? I want to see your arguments. If you found value in this briefing, If you want to stay ahead of the decoupling rather than being a victim of it, make sure you are subscribed. We are the signal in the noise. Your intelligence briefing continues here. Click the video on your screen to expand your understanding of the hidden mechanics governing your reality. I'll see you there.